Welcome to the Crypto Campfire. They're like Sonic and Tails, only old and slow. Mitch and the Professor. Featuring special guest, Justin Vendetta.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Campfire podcast. This is the Professor.
And Mitch.
And today we have with us Justin Vendetta, the founder of Verge Currency. Before we start talking to Justin, let's grab that crypto news from the Crypto Gent.
Thanks, Professor. Hello, Crypto Campfire listeners, and welcome to the cryptocurrency news in a flash with the Crypto Gent. A new report has come out this week that suggests that the United States is massively overtaking all of the countries in the amount of conversations that are taking place about Facebook's Libra, and of course about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. Dogecoin has gone up 37% since its listing on Binance this week, and I decided to take a look at the top 3 risers over the last 24 hours in the cryptocurrency market. Komodo is in third place with 10.43% rise. Next is Next with a 12% rise, and the biggest riser of the top 100 coins over the last 24 hours is Waves with a 18% rise. That's the cryptocurrency news in a flash. Enjoy the show and follow the Crypto Gent. Back to you, Professor.
Thanks a lot, Crypto Gent. So Justin, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Absolutely.
My first time on the show.
Yes, it's we're glad to have you. I've been kind of I wouldn't say like an XVG fan per se. I've kind of traded it a little bit, but I've never really been, super deep in following the project. But we're kind of interested to learn more maybe about where you're at now and where you're headed with it. I know you just got a new code base out.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and kind of where you see Verge right now?
Okay, well, I guess to talk about the code base now, I'll explain where it came from. Because a lot of people get confused and think that we were a fork of Dogecoin. Back when we first launched, our name was Dogecoin Dark. We were actually a fork of Rootcoin, which was a proof of stake system. But we actually shut off proof of stake in it and made it proof of work. And it was just kind of a fun project. Wasn't really, we didn't do an ICO, we didn't have a pre-mine. It was just kind of, me and some friends in the community just playing around and having fun with it. And we made a really high supply. Which seems to, in my experience from the Dogecoin community, the high supply makes it a lot more fun for everybody, makes it less stressful. And long term, it seems like it's kind of, been successful for distribution. So, the first code base we had, it wasn't great. Needed a lot of modifications here and there. It was constantly being patched. Then we had a couple of mining exploits in 2017. And so we slowly started revamping the entire code base from scratch using the newest Bitcoin code base of 0.17. So that's where we are now. Now we actually have Verge, all the components that made Verge unique, our higher supply, having Core built in to hide users' IP addresses, secure messaging, and then our multi-algorithm proof of work. All put back into the newest Bitcoin code base. So we're really happy with where it's at now because things are a lot more stable. We've prevented future mining attacks. So I mean that's where we are with our software. We have a lot of other software too. Like if you take a look in our GitHub, you'll see we have a library for almost every programming language available for developers. Like Node.js, Python,
Nice
stuff like that. We have a new iOS wallet that we just launched that was built by one of our devs that's just a brilliant iOS dev. And he baked Tor into that. As far as I know, we're actually the only iOS crypto app that has Tor baked in right now.
That's sick.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of focus on trying to make it easily accessible to developers, more or less, to implement it.
Yeah. So the whole idea really with not having an ICO or pre-mine was to kind of make it community-based, and not just in the sense of having a community, but building a community of developers and making it easier for developers, that belong to other projects to integrate Verge into it. And so we've had a lot of that kind of stuff happen. Surprisingly, some of the libraries that we built a couple of years ago are actually being used a lot now. and we get questions all the time on how like our Node.js library works, how our Python library works. So I mean, we try to not only just be community oriented, but also developer community oriented as well.
So basically, you developed a community to help support the project over the interim while you guys were in development phase. So you were pretty much pulling from the community assistance with the development. I mean, I see a lot from what you're saying right now. It's pretty amazing where you guys are at and where you've come just since I've been in crypto. So say like 2018 January, what I remember of the Verge project, and to see where you're at now, it sounds like it's leaps and bounds, and it's all been behind the scenes, because you really haven't heard a lot of Verge hype over the last, I'd say, 10 to 12 months.
Yeah, well, during the bear market, a lot of people, there was a lot of negative sentiment. I'm sure you guys saw, where a lot of people that had just gotten in and saw everything climb and then suddenly drop. There's a lot of negative sentiment coming from people, and it's my opinion that so many people got into crypto in 2017 that their experience with the correction after the rise, the negative sentiment was so large because the community itself in crypto literally doubled. So for us, I mean, that was nothing new. I remember when Bitcoin went to $100 and quote unquote crashed, back down, and then it went to $1,000 and came back down. Right. So I mean, this, none of this was new to me and to a lot of people on the team. So we just kind of kept our noses down and just kept working. And the people that sat around and complained, we said, okay, well, you don't have to work on this, right. And what we were left with was a couple dozen, really passionate people that, didn't really care about the price and didn't care about the bear market, and, just, had the belief that, crypto will come back, and go back up again. So.
Well, ultimately really wanted to develop a sound project at the end of the day. That was why everybody stayed on, because they seen their dream and your vision and wanted to make that a reality. So that right there is what you call, unity. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but I mean, a lot of us have, kind of built personal relationships with one another. I mean, we don't, 75% of our conversations in our team chats are crypto, but, we do talk about a lot of personal stuff, what's going on with our family, what's going on geographically, politically, where we live. So a lot of us have become really good friends, and we talk to each other every day.
Man, crypto really brings people together. That's a fact. Like Mitch and I met in the project that we are currently involved with now, and we started out as admins for the community, and here we are. So it's kind of it's one of those things, man. It's just every aspect of it, whether you're working on a project or you're talking with people on Twitter about similar interests or trades or whatever it is, it's like you become part of a family, and it's a cool thing, man.
Yeah, and it's a really cool kind of bond to share, because especially for people like like me and Crypto Rect, he's like one of our number 2 guys at Verge. We met in the Dogecoin Dark IRC chat years ago, and we didn't really hit it off. We kind of were arguing a lot and stuff, and then we ended up. I think I DM'd him, and we started talking, and then turns out we had a ton in common, and now I talk to him every day, on an almost hourly basis.
That's cool.
That's awesome. It's something unlike most other industries out there. It's a different world here, and I love it.
Yeah, but it is really cool in the sense that it builds friendships, it builds families, and and it's definitely a unique thing to see in our lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back, what made you in the very beginning? What made you want to do a privacy coin?
So I got into crypto from a friend of mine back in 2011, and he basically started telling me about Bitcoin and Litecoin, and then when I saw those, I was like, okay, I'm definitely interested. I couldn't mine Bitcoin too much. I only had a CPU at the time, couldn't afford an ASIC, and I had a decent mid-level GPU. So I was mining Litecoin a bit, and then once more altcoins came out, like Dogecoin, just lots of projects started coming out. I built a mining pool to start supporting all the different altcoins that were coming out, and it was a lot of fun. But then there was just this onslaught of literally completely identical projects coming out, And what they were doing is they were taking a pre-mine or mining before they publicly released, 1% or 2% of the total supply. And they didn't offer anything, but they were making promises. They were saying, hey, we're going to, we're going to produce 10 million coins. We're going to keep 100,000 right off the bat for ourselves. And once it hits markets, we're going to start selling them and putting this money into development to do A, B, and C. Privacy was usually a popular one. All kinds of smart contract concepts, all different concepts. And nobody delivered, literally nobody. All these projects just did a pre-mine and then they sold their coins and disappeared. And there was no accountability. Nobody knew who a lot of the developers even were.
Right.
And none of them stuck around. And for me, I was, a mining pool admin at the time. I was literally adding, 3 or 4 coins every week and taking off 3 or 4 coins every week off my pool just to, delist the next the 3 coins that I put on the previous week. Now I'm delisting them the next week because it's already dead in a week.
Wow, that's crazy.
Happening. Oh yeah. And hundreds and hundreds of coins launched over the course of like a year. And I just got so sick of it. But working with all these projects and adding them onto my pool, I got really familiar with the code itself. So I decided, Bitcoin's done me well. My mining pool only had 1% fees, but as Bitcoin kept rising, I kept being lucky enough to sell at the top and then buy back in. And so I kept my Bitcoins, mostly, and I said, I think this mining pool is kind of driving me crazy and seeing all these coins just come out nonstop. And I think I'm going to just try to build my own project. So I took a source code that I was familiar with and I made a gigantic supply and I launched it publicly and made a community chat room for it. And we set up bots to quote unquote rain on each other. So we could, you could say rain 1,000 and it would divide 1,000 coins to whoever was active in the chat room. So if there was only 20 people, then, everybody was going to get, 50 or 500 coins.
Right.
And we started doing that and it was a lot of fun. And we had a lot of other pool admins in the room. And since we had such a high supply, it got to the point where like every once in a while, big miners would come in and they'd rain, 1 million or 10 million coins at once. And this was like, we were worth 1 Satoshi back then. And, and the price of Bitcoin was, non-existent compared to what it is now. So it was just a lot of fun. And, a lot of people kind of stuck around and it just grew and it grew and it grew. And eventually it just became something that I ended up living and breathing and staying awake for days trying to make it bigger and bigger. And people in the chat were constantly giving me new ideas. They said, hey, why don't you, this was before Tor was in any project. People were saying, why don't you build Tor nodes, and make, put those in the code. And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. And then our buddy Buzz messaged me and said, hey, I heard about this thing I2P. You should look into that. And within a few days, I built I2P nodes, and then I put our Electrum server on I2P. And, just kept growing and growing. And it was a lot of fun.
It's really cool to see how far community-driven projects can really come, especially not having an ICO or anything.
Yeah, I mean, we have zero funding.
Yeah, that's just it. You didn't start out with like $60 million, so.
Right. I had enough that I knew that I could, I would still survive if this all failed. I'd be able to, hold myself over and pay my bills until I found another job. And,
right.
And luckily I didn't need to. It was worth it. Back when I actually launched this coin, I was probably one of the weakest miners on the network because I had, a mid-level GPU. And there were already guys out there with, 5 or 6 GPUs that were top of the line. So, in contrast to the people who were mining the coin at the time, I mean, I was a nobody on the network, but I still managed to accumulate a good sum of them.
That's awesome. Definitely a lot of ambition on your part. It shows. How old are you, if you don't mind?
39.
39. Okay, so you've been doing this since 2011, right? And what was your base education all about computers? Was this always something you've done since high school, or was there something else that you were big into and just said, I'm going to get into crypto?
In middle school, probably maybe 2nd or 3rd grade, I was doing really, really badly in public school, and and everybody was obviously concerned. They're like, why is Justin, not doing his homework? Why is he not paying attention in class? And eventually we took some kind of standardized testing, and I ended up getting a really good grade on it. And it ended up getting me a ride into a gifted school. So I ended up going into a gifted school, and I had a computer teacher, and probably the coolest guy I've ever met in my entire life. He passed away in school one day, actually, in class. But
oh, geez,
I had him for about 2 years, and he was just such an awesome guy. And he could tell that I had a natural talent for, this was back in the days of BASIC. He could tell that I had a talent, and he basically eventually just started letting me do whatever I want. He said, you don't have to do today's lesson, Justin. You can just go hang out and do what you've been doing, because I had already figured out BASIC and all that, all the simple stuff that the class was working on. So it got to the point where eventually my parents bought me a computer, and, I just became a hardcore, nerd at like 10, 11 years old. And,
I love it.
That's awesome.
If I could, I would have grown a beard back then.
Start early. Yeah, it sounds a lot like me growing up. I just got into computers way early, and I remember back in elementary school riding my bicycle to the junk store with my friend, the Rescue Mission Bargain Center, and buying old computers for $1 or $2 and tearing them apart and building them into different things, and started development in 6th grade also at the influence of a teacher.
So you probably still get a weird nostalgic feeling when you see old computers laying around.
Oh yeah, man. Like the old Apple IIs, like I've never been an Apple guy, but in our school, that's all we had at the beginning was Apples, like Apple IIs, Apple IIes. And, I remember playing like Crystal Quest and Super Munchers on the old Apples. And one time our 6th grade teacher told us that if we could write to 1 million on paper, pen and paper over the weekend, that he'd buy us a 12-pack of Mountain Dew. So we all tried that, and of course failed epically. On Monday, he fired up the Apple II and wrote up a little program that counted to 1 million. And if I remember right, it took several hours still on that old thing. But yeah, and so it was that point. He said, "This is what you do to build video games," and then I was hooked. And I never ended up becoming a game developer, but it all starts with one little thing like that. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I was socially awkward as a kid, and it was nice because computers were a thing I could interact with that wasn't a person,
That's the same. Like I didn't like people. My wife still looks at me. She's known me since middle school, and she still looks at me like, "How are you doing a podcast? How are you talking to strangers?" Because I was always the same way. Like in high school,
I broke you out of your shell,
like metalhead. Like yeah, I was kind of a strange kid, but yeah. So computers were always that thing.
Well, heavy metal is linked to higher intelligence. I actually read an article about that. I think it was last year.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
Damn. I like to take credit for his coming out of his shell, because if it wasn't for me, I don't think, this last year would have been as crazy as it was.
No, it's helped. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. Anytime I do like an interview or a presentation, like in person, people are always like, "Man, you're such a good speaker." And I'm like, "Thanks." Like, 3 or 4 years ago, I was the complete opposite. But I just, this is something that I just kind of had to do. I mean, I guess it came with the territory, but I never imagined when I first started the project that I'd be speaking and doing podcasts and, presenting things in front of crowds of people in my life ever. If anything, I would have wanted to avoid it, but, it's something I had to do. And, I believe in the project, so I don't have a problem doing it.
It makes it easy that way.
Exactly. If you believe in what you're talking about, it comes out easy. So
yeah, exactly.
So other than XVG, what other projects out there? Is there anything in particular that kind of sparks your interest?
I've always been a really big fan of Bitcoin. Like I'm almost a Bitcoin maximalist, with the exception of like a handful of alts.
Right.
Because I love Bitcoin, and I think it should always be the gold to the precious metals market.
It'll always have its purpose.
Right.
And sadly, if you don't think Litecoin's the silver to Bitcoin's gold, this conversation's over. I'm leaving. Just saying.
But yeah, I mean, there's some good projects out there. I like Litecoin. I like Bitcoin. I like Dogecoin. I like all the OGs that are still around and still working, full force. Dogecoin, unfortunately, is not really having a lot of development going on anymore. But I mean, it still works and it's still stable, which is a good sign. So I'm a big fan of the old, the older OG alts.
Yeah, I can hear there, especially where you've been in this so long. There's 2011 was pretty much damn near the beginning, more or less, in the long term.
Oh thing. Yeah. Back then, we kind of all knew each other. It was such a small community that within a month or two of just existing in it, you kind of got to know everybody.
Jeez,
it's crazy to think that I passed up that opportunity to jump into Bitcoin in like 2010. It was like just some dude on Craigslist trying to trade stuff for Bitcoin, and I totally blew it off. And I'll always remember that Craigslist ad.
Damn,
I'm a late bloomer.
Was he offering items to receive Bitcoin, or was he trying to give away Bitcoin to take your things?
No, he was trying to collect Bitcoin. And so it was kind of interesting to me because the way he worded it, like at that time, I was doing reselling a lot to get through school and stuff like that. So I was on Craigslist a lot. And this guy's ad, for some reason, it like stood out. And I was like, well, this is cool. Bitcoin sounds like an interesting thing. But then I looked it up, and I don't know what website I looked at, but whatever it was, I looked at it and was just like, well, this is stupid. And then moved on, and that was it. I just kind of totally forgot about it. And then 2016, I started doing a little bit of mining with the Butterfly Labs miner, and then that blew up, and then I forgot about it again until December of 2017. But you win some, you lose some. But I'm glad I'm here now.
Man, I tell you what, I had an ASIC, I had an Antminer, and man, that thing sounded like a fucking jet engine.
This one did too. It was like the power supply itself sounded like its own jetliner along with the miner.
Yeah, I kept mine in my garage, and like you could hear it inside my house, like from the other side of the house, and it was too much.
Damn.
And it was never profitable.
Crazy.
I got an Antminer S9 right when they came out. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and man, that thing was never profitable. It was very expensive, and it was really, really loud.
Yeah, I've always heard lots of horror stories about those things and people that weren't very happy with their purchase, more or less. So I never got too deep into mining. I never really had the funding to get the hardware, and now I've had all my time, on the development side of things. But
yeah, mining is tough to jump into, especially for new people. A lot of people, one of the things that, when people hear me talking about crypto, they say, how do I mine Bitcoin? And like my first response is, you don't want to even do that or even try.
Yeah.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense. You're just going to be mining away for nothing, basically, at this point. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in America, you're going to be spending probably 3 times as much as you're making, if not more.
Yep. Definitely not profitable.
No.
You know what? The one I was mining for a while was Electronium, only because I was a fan of the project, and I was just running a CPU miner
that's a fork of Monero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Kryptonite algorithm.
Yeah, Kryptonite algorithm. Yeah.
So, yep, and it's so I was mining that for a little while, but I, like I said, I only had a CPU. I was running, I think it was a AMD Phenom X4, like not even a good CPU, and NVIDIA 750. And so I would just turn that on when I left the house and stacked up a few of them just for shits and giggles, but that's about it.
Did you ever mine Bitcoin?
No, I never did.
Yeah, Bitcoin is where XMR and Electronium both, came from. That's like their dad.
Right. Yeah, I never mined any of it.
Bitcoin was the original kryptonite. I had a bunch of Monero. I bought and was mining Monero back when it was like 85 cents.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Heck yeah. So Justin, do you find yourself on Twitter much, or not really?
It depends. It depends on what I'm working on and how hard, how much attention it requires from me. Like I've really learned to train myself. If I have something big that really needs to get done and I gave myself a time limit on it, then I try to cut myself off from all social media. Facebook was really bad for me for a while. And now I've managed to not be on Facebook for more than like a half hour a day. Twitter, I am guilty of being on Twitter probably like once an hour while I'm awake.
Oh my God, at least.
Yeah.
So who do you have like a favorite follow, someone that you really look to in the space, or that may follow you that you enjoy?
I mean, I've got to meet a lot of really cool people in crypto. I have some people that are not in crypto that follow me that I was really surprised. Like I guess one of the actors from Ray Donovan, which is a show that I kind of enjoy. I can't remember his name offhand, but he follows me, and I was kind of surprised to see that.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Some super fan started messaging me asking me how I knew him, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know they followed me. That's so awesome. That's all. And then I was like, sorry, I can't help you meet them.
Right. Twitter's a funny place, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of Vlad J. Wanderlan, who's probably one of the best Bitcoin developers in my opinion, follows me on Twitter. And I think he's probably, I've said it before, I think he's probably the best developer in the crypto space, period.
Wow.
Just because he's so versatile, can handle multiple languages, contributes to almost everything related to Tor outside of Bitcoin. I mean, the guy must be working probably 16-hour days in front of the computer.
That's crazy.
And he's one of the top. He's one of the top contributors to the Bitcoin source code as well.
Very nice.
So I mean, that's to me as a developer, there's there's really nothing higher in my opinion that could follow me and make me more humbled.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So from the development side, it kind of, talking about Twitter being a distraction, it sort of reminded me back in the day with Wraith, when Wraith was coming out, and it was just like everybody on Twitter was just sitting there like hounding you over and over again, like, give us an update, like every 5 minutes. And it's like, he's got to write code. He can't just be on Twitter. How's he going to produce anything if he's on fucking Twitter 24/7?
Somebody on New Year's while I was working, somebody actually wrote me the sweetest message and tipped me 2 Bitcoins. And that was Bitcoin, I think was worth. Yeah, I think Bitcoin was worth about 16,000 that night. And
oh Lord,
somebody wrote me a long message and said, "I'm watching you make all these commits to GitHub while it's New Year's, and I know you have a family, and all these people are going crazy hounding you." And they were like, "Check your Bitcoin wallet." And I was like, "Holy shit! Thank you so much. That's like the nicest thing anybody's ever done to me."
That's amazing,
dude. That's insane.
It's so cool that there's actually people out there that
right.
As loud as the negativity is, there's always that, 1 or 2 people out there that really see what's going on and see what you're doing.
Yeah, well, with Verge, we never told people come invest in Verge. I've never told people to buy Verge at all. I've never even told people to mine it. I'm not that guy trying to sell this product. I designed it to be a currency, not a thing for you to speculate on and buy, which most of the market is anyway. But, we really just push for adoption and think long term. We're not, trying to raise capital and trying to get people to buy large amounts of our supply. That's not really, something that we focus on. And luckily, everybody shares that same vision. So it's, it's not even something that we discuss on the team. If the price goes up or the price goes down, that's not really something that we talk about.
And it's so amazing to hear from you right now, to hear that, because it's, it goes all the way back to, what was it, April, May of last year, when there was this big announcement with your partnership that happened. And I don't understand all the hype behind it still today, but to hear that, what you just said, to hear how you are truly into the adoption of cryptocurrency, you are truly building a product because of passion, not to make money, not to sell it. Money's a byproduct of great things that we accomplish. And I think we accomplish those things because of the passion we put into it and the true love for what we're doing. So I just wanted to say that's awesome to hear from you. I really, it kind of takes it up that next level, because if you don't hear these things, you're not going to hear them on social media. You're not going to see them in the news. You're going to hear all the negative bullshit that, idiots want you to hear. And so this was definitely refreshing to hear that. Thank you.
Well, most media has an agenda, as you well know, so, it's, but for me, none of that kind of stuff bothers me, I didn't really know who you guys were coming into this. And I didn't, I didn't even really check out your backgrounds, for all I knew, I was coming into something where people were going to try to attack me or something, that kind of stuff happens in the crypto world, but it doesn't really faze me because, I've been here for a long time and I really know my shit.
Right.
It's cool. Important to have that confidence in yourself too, though. That's one thing that sets a few people apart from the rest. If you have that confidence and you just stay true to what your vision is for the project, then it really doesn't matter what anybody else has to say, right?
Yeah, one of the things that I've probably gotten the most slack for is the partnership with Pornhub. And the funny thing is that was every day, everybody on our team realizes that was probably one of the best things that we could have ever done, MindGeek is still in talks with all types of crypto services every day, working to get us listed in more places and adopted in more places and integrated in more places. And they have such brilliant, motivated people working for them. And to know that, they're still contacting, people like myself or other people on the team and saying, hey, we need you guys to respond to these people. We hit them up about, Verge being, adopted here and da-da-da. So it's like, it was definitely one of the best decisions I ever made.
Well, it's a great example of one of those things that people, they just don't understand, or they don't think outside of the box.
Depth.
Because it's way more than Pornhub, right? Like MindGeek is huge. People don't understand that.
Yeah. So the other partner, Tron and Zcash are integrated payments on Pornhub, but they're not. They don't have a partnership with MindGeek that expands across all of their sites.
Right.
On top of that, we have all the people. We have employees at MindGeek that are working every day to look into new crypto services, and their first mention is Verge. And what can we do to get Verge on this?
Nice. See, that's
cool.
That's all the stuff that happens in the background that nobody thinks about. All they see is, well, who pays for porn anymore? Because that's all they can think of is just that little base level of that one transaction. It's like, number one, even if it was just Pornhub, it's exposure. Like, people see this, and there's people out there throwing Verge coins in the streets. Like, it's bringing exposure to crypto. It's way bigger than what you're looking at face value. And
yeah, right. I've talked to Asia Akira on a one-on-one basis, and that was something that I definitely dreamed about when I was younger.
That's too cool.
it's amazing having a company like MindGeek, have your back, and they're easily the best partner I could have ever imagined. I thought that it would have been long over by now, but they're literally every day. We just heard from them 3 days ago. And they dropped a pretty big thing on our lap and said, if this works out, we can get you guys on this. This will be huge for you. And it's like to know that this gigantic company that's already got a million things going on with themselves is still thinking about us on a daily basis is just awesome.
Well, yeah, that gives you that credibility that you normally wouldn't have, and I wouldn't say reassurance more than credibility. You're like, man, this is what I'm doing is working.
It's so much easier having a company like them initiate a discussion with a large corporation than it is for just a guy like me or somebody on our team. But it's just when you have a company of that size, nobody ignores them. There's not many companies on the planet that are bigger than them.
It's that backup that you need to reassure who you're approaching that it's actually worth their time.
Right. Where do you guys both live? Are you guys both in the States?
Yeah, I'm up in Montana, actually.
And I'm in Michigan.
Ooh.
Yeah. What about you? You're in California?
No, I was in South Florida, and I just moved to Asheville, North Carolina a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. I love it out here. I'm in the mountains.
Mitch, was that where that taco place was that Euclid and Oaks were at?
Oh.
The nacho bar with when they had their shoes?
It might have been.
Nachos and beer?
Yeah, there was like a Euclid and Oaks were at a nacho bar, like a big ass nacho bar, and I think it was in Asheville. I'll have to look that up, and I'll have to send you that direction.
There's one right down the street called Nachos and Beer, and they're incredible.
That's awesome. I don't have any of that shit here.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good food here, definitely, and a lot of the food here comes from like local farms.
Oh yeah.
So it's like when you get like a plate at a lot of the restaurants, your veggies came from a local farm, your meat came from a local farm. So yeah, it's nice out here. People here are very eco-conscious, and we didn't really have that in South Florida, and South Florida was getting really bad eco disasters, and that's pretty much why I left. Last year, a lot of the dolphins and manatee in South Florida died from a neurotoxic algae bloom, and I'm well aware that that's going to happen again later this year. So I was like, I'm not going to sit here and wait for this to happen.
Right.
And I've got a 3-year-old daughter, so it's like I can't, I have to make decisions for her,
Yeah, man, it's an important thing that a lot of people don't think enough about. That's for sure.
No, it's not. And so you're obviously a water person then. That's cool.
I love water, yeah. I love going out on boats. I love wakeboarding. I love water skiing.
I love it so much.
Sweet. So you said you hadn't heard of us before we invited you here. It's kind of cool that you came on the show. It's really
I didn't mean that offensively. I'm not really aware of like
no. We didn't
crypto
take it that
podcasts.
way.
You know what I mean? Like
No, that's cool.
if you
Right.
asked me to name 5 of them, I wouldn't be able to name any ones other than the ones I've been on, just because I don't.
Sure.
I never have time.
But I mean, you know, looking at it from our standpoint, when you're starting something, we've been doing this since May 2nd. This is, I forget, we're up to how many episodes now?
27 now.
27 episodes. And so we're still new in the game. And
Awesome.
to be able to have people with a reputation come on our show means a lot, you know, especially when you're just starting out. And it's like, the love we've received from the community has just been amazing. So
Verge has a really supportive community,
and that's cool. You know, community to me is everything. If you don't have community, you really don't have anything. I don't care how great your product is. If people don't care about you and care about your company and care about what your vision is, then your product really is shit, as far as I'm concerned.
right? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would totally agree on that. Yeah, but I like doing stuff like this where, I mean, I've been on Bloomberg in New York City, and, you know, I've been on other, you know, media outlets, but I equally, if not more, enjoy just talking to, you know, normal guys and, you know, just talking about crypto. And, you know, I think that you reach a better audience, you know, and you don't feel like none of this feels fake. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I just have to like blow smoke up anybody's ass, and, you know, I don't know. There's just less pressure and it's more genuine.
Yeah, you know, and that's exactly what our vision was when we started this, was like everything out there. There's always, and I shouldn't say everything. There's a few guys who do this well without pressuring people or whatnot. But, you know, I just hate this stereotype, you know, the standard interviews where you're always trying to weasel some weird information out of somebody or back them into a corner to try and do that. And we just wanted to sit down with different people from all across the crypto space and even outside of it and just kind of have a chat about how they got into it and what they're doing and what they love. And I find it a lot more interesting. So
I'd be weary of people that don't want to come on and talk about, you know, what they're up to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand that. Before we wrap this up, I know you said you a little bit short on time today. So one more question for you.
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to know 5 ways that you would use a stapler if you didn't have any staples.
5 ways to use a stapler if I didn't have staples. Paperweight. Depending on, I mean, what kind of stapler are we talking about? Like, you know, one of the old school industrial heavy metal ones?
You know, I'll leave that up to you. You can use a variety of staplers with no staples.
I could probably use a stapler as like an anchor. When I stake my kayak out, I'd just find something like heavy and tie it to a string and use that as an anchor.
Nice.
Fish a little bit. Could use it as a weapon, obviously, to defend yourself, swing it at people.
Sure. 2 more.
Could probably paint it and turn it into a piece of art.
There you go.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
I guess I was going to say you could turn it into some kind of metallic sculpture, but I mean, I guess that kind of goes with art.
Yeah, kind of.
You could also use it as a conversation piece. What the fuck is that stapler sitting there for?
well, and also you could kind of say that it's something that probably won't really be known to children in another 10 or 20 years as we go paperless, you know?
You know, that's a really good point, too.
It is.
So just how long is it going to take? I'm waiting for that day now that somebody looks at me and says, "What's a stapler?"
I'm still trying to figure out why they sell that. I'm trying to figure out why they still sell that kid's toy that looks like the old phone with the cord. Like, there's not I have not seen a phone working like that anywhere in anybody's house for like 2 decades now.
It's been a long time.
Why are we giving this to like 2-year-olds?
It's like 4 or 5 years ago when I first finally realized that there were no payphones left anywhere. I was like, one day I needed a payphone, and I was like, oh wait, I just realized there's no fucking payphones anywhere.
Actually, if you go on 2600, the Hacker Quarterly magazine, people, when they find payphones, they actually post them in their location and if they work or not.
Oh, nice. That's
awesome. Oh, nice.
So,
that would be cool.
There are payphones. Just, you know, you really got to search for them.
Yep.
And they cost you a fortune when you find them. They're all private.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're all private.
I miss those days. I used to have a red box that would make the the 5 asterisk tone, when you modified the communications crystal in it and you did 5 asterisks, it would make the sound of a quarter. And you used to be able to hold it up to the mouthpiece, and every time you press the button, it would register that you put a quarter in.
That's sick.
Oh, that's cool. Hell yeah, it is. So one last thing before we go today. Today I was buying a mower, right, for the house, getting this mower, and it was a smaller shop, that sells and does maintenance and stuff on your lawn equipment. And I asked the guy, I'm like, I had my wife and my kid with me, and I asked the guy, I said, so do you take cryptocurrency? And of course my wife rolls her eyes, my son laughs, chuckles, and I'm like, what? Right? So the more I talked to this guy, the more interested he became, obviously. So, what is your strive for adoption of normies, or do you not have one?
No, this is a really good thing to bring up, and I'm glad you did. One thing that I like to tell people, because I don't just constantly bring it up everywhere I go, but what I like to tell people, and I hope the best for them, is you got to remind people, if they do decide to accept crypto, sure, they're not going to get tons of sales in crypto right away, but they can actually set up their account to hold some of the crypto aside, like payment processors. I won't name any of them and blow them up on the show. But a lot of them will allow you to set aside 5%, 1%, anything you want, any customizable number, and it'll actually hold that crypto in your account. So you can, almost set up like a savings account for yourself by choosing to integrate crypto and take crypto for your services, because you can say, well, I fixed this guy's mower and it cost me $100, or and I'm going to charge him $150. I should set up my account to cash out $140 and save $10 of that. And keep it in that crypto.
Oh, for sure.
And over time, obviously, since most cryptos are scaled deflationary, it theoretically should only go up. So that's something important to tell, especially like a mom and pop shop is, hey, I know this sounds crazy.
Exactly.
You can integrate crypto for almost no extra cost to yourself. And you can even set it up to where it becomes like a mini savings account that, is very beneficial and potentially could be very profitable.
Well, he made the comment, he goes, well, nobody really has asked. And I'm like, well, okay, so it's like this. Unless you have something saying you accept it, most average people that are into cryptocurrencies are not going to ask. But the more people that see, but the more people that see that sign on your desk that says we accept crypto, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Digibyte, Verge, whatever, they're going to say, what's this about? Or they're going to say, oh my God, you take crypto, I can pay with some of that? That's sweet as hell. So you're opening yourself up to a whole nother financial stream of money to come into your service.
Yeah, I've never asked a bar or a restaurant if they take crypto. I usually just end up handing them my debit card. But the bars and restaurants that I've seen with the Bitcoin logo in their window, I always try to pay in Bitcoin.
Right. Okay, dude, you got to follow me more on Twitter because I go to the bars all the time and do this. And I do it live broadcast. I do. It's so much fun. Me and J-Mac and Clint Westwood, we are like really strong on adoption, and we actually go to places and physically talk to people.
Have you ever spoke to TD Taihutu?
No, I haven't.
From the Bitcoin family. So he was one of our presenters at our Verge meetup in Holland a couple months ago. And him and his whole family sold everything, and they live off of crypto, and they travel all over the place. They're like the modern day Partridge Family on Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what's their handle?
Didi, Didi, Taihuttu. Didi Taihutu.
Awesome.
So he's one of those guys where, he says, I've heard it a million times, lead by example. And it never really hit me the way it did when I watched him talk and learn more about his family, because he's like, if you believe in crypto, lead by example. And so, we're saying, we like to go to a bar and pay with Bitcoin if they have the option. This guy and his whole family, he's got kids, and they live off of crypto.
That's so awesome.
That's so cool. It is. Yeah. That's totally cool. And I think the thing that really opened this guy's eyes, and it was something I learned. You're familiar with Johnny Litecoin, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so Johnny Litecoin, kind of mentioned this to me one time, and one of the biggest things that you can tell a merchant is that how much money do you lose yearly in chargebacks? And if you say 10% of your income, if you say 5% of your income that you bring into the shop, you lose in chargebacks. It is. And if you say that even 2% of all of it,
1%, if 1% of your money is going out the window, that's huge.
Right. So now take that 1% and leave it into crypto. Let that crypto that you might normally get a charge back on grow.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
and they're
exactly.
like, wow, that's pretty awesome. You know, so there's a lot of ways to approach it. I was really, you know, I'd like to ask about this. I like to ask what people's stances are, and I really loved your enthusiasm with your answer. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's really important to me to explain the benefits of crypto, and not just, hey, you can make money if you accept Bitcoin. You know, you say, hey, if you set up one of these payment processors, you know, it's really, really easy. It doesn't cost you anything. And you can even turn it into like a mini savings account that could be, you know, super profitable for you.
For sure. For sure. That's awesome. Justin, it's been amazing having you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm glad I made it.
One last question. How's the puppy? Everything good at the vet?
I'll know soon. Hopefully it's just like a cyst. You know, she doesn't seem to be in any pain, so that's a good sign.
Good, man.
Right on.
He was
right
posted on that.
Always a concern there. Yeah, please do.
Yeah, everybody loves
All right,
dog
brother.
roast.
Oh yeah, for sure. So have yourself a great day, Justin. Again, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope this isn't the end of our friendship and relationship here, because we don't plan on going anywhere, and I don't foresee you going anywhere either. So, you know, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Heck yeah, man. Anytime, let's do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
We'll keep in touch, and I'll look you up when I come to North Carolina.
Definitely do. I'd be kind of offended if you didn't.
Right on.
We'll make sure.
Hey, same with Michigan. You ever come to Detroit, come to the auto show, anything like that, you better look me up, because I'll take you on a tour. I built most of that city as a carpenter, so I love it.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Cool, brother. Have a great day.
Sweet. Have a good weekend, man.
All right, guys. Take care. Peace.
All right, peace. Man, that was awesome.
Hell yeah, it was good talking to him. I've always kind of wanted to learn more about him. Every time I've seen him talk, it's always about Verge, but there's always been that kind of like interest. He always kind of seems like he's somebody that I would get along with from, similar backgrounds and things like that. So it was really cool to have that conversation with him.
Oh, I could see you two connecting for hours and hours, when it comes to that side of things, for sure.
For sure. When he started talking about how he first got into programming, it was like, that sounds fucking familiar.
Now you're speaking my language. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this sounds interesting, guys. Man, that's great.
What's programming?
Yeah, right. What, ABC language? Yeah, exactly. Just let me know when you're done. No, it was great. I really enjoyed that podcast. That was a lot of fun.
Heck yeah, we had a good time.
Especially like a close to just a great week, Man, yeah, it's just been an incredible week this week. I mean, we've had some amazing guests, having Janice and John on for the 4th of July special, Amina Metallo. I mean, Justin Vendetta. Just an amazing week, just amazing people, amazing energy. The professor and I both kind of been struggling with our energy, outside of the podcast here with the project we've been involved with. So that's kind of been a downer, but I would say that this podcast has been our saving grace, and you guys are everything to us. We so appreciate all the support we see and all the support.
Keeps the fire burning, man.
Oh my God, you're not kidding. And we're seeing more and more followers, more and more subscribers on our YouTube channel, more followers on Twitter, more positive sentiment flying around about the podcast, and it feels really good, guys. It really does. It feels like we're actually doing our part for the community. We're actually doing something that's amazing for everyone to enjoy, and we really like having you around.
You know what makes me feel good?
What's that? A beer?
When I release a new episode, yes, or two.
Right?
When I release a new episode on the Twitter account, and shortly thereafter, it's not just likes and a few retweets here and there. It's when somebody actually quotes the episode and makes a comment about something that they liked in it or something like that lets us know that they're, people are actually listening. Like it's a really good feeling. Yeah. It's a cool feeling that people are actually listening to what we're doing and like it. So guys, we really appreciate that 1,000%. It means a lot to us.
Oh my God. Yes, it does. And you guys are going to be seeing a little bit more activity from us over in the near future. For the duration. I mean, this is this baby right here is going to grow, and we are going to take it wherever we can take it. And we want all of you guys along for the ride. So thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks for being a part of our community. I guess this is our community, right?
It is.
That's what they are. And I love it. I love it. So guys, thank you again. By all means, if you can, if you think about it, if you feel up to it, throw a tip log on the Campfire. That'll help us generate some revenue that we can keep affording to be able to do this and to be able to do more, because that's ultimately our goal. We want to be able to do more. We want to travel. We want to bring cryptocurrencies to the average people. And this is a great avenue to do so. So
I can't wait to start spreading the Campfire everywhere. We had a question earlier. Somebody on Twitter was wondering when the Campfire is coming to Australia. So
Australia, dude,
the world tour. We've got to make this happen soon.
Oh my God. Right. I mean, we got to start with the U.S. first. That's where we live.
Yeah.
But
we got lots of stops in ahead of us. But I just
we got
can't
big
wait.
plans if the bull run hits us. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fucking amazing.
That'll make all this stuff possible, and then some.
Oh yeah.
So thank you so much, guys, for your support. Exactly, all in time. We're how do I want to say that? We're impatiently being patient.
Right.
Anxiously being patient. That's it. We're anxiously being patient.
Exactly. We're in this shit for the long haul, guys.
Hell yeah. We ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So other than up, I hope. And, with you guys behind us, I don't see why we can't do that. Why, we just can't continue to bring awesome people. There's a never ending supply of amazing individuals in this space. There just is. There's no question about it. Am I right?
And if we ever run out in the space, we got to just bring new people in. So
right.
If you guys keep doing your job and going out there and telling people about crypto and bringing new people in, we'll never run out of guests. You'll never run out of Crypto Campfire episodes. So do your part, get new people into crypto, and we'll interview them. How about that?
Share this shit. We love you guys. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you guys soon.
You guys have a good night.
Peace.